By the time the third lantern was lit, the swamp had swallowed the last strip of sky, pressing darkness down like a damp hand over a mouth. The girl had run 8 hours earlier, barefoot and bleeding, her name already spoken, as if it belonged to the past. When the men loosed the 3 Rottweilers, their muscles coiled tight as iron, confidence returned to the hunt. Nothing outran those dogs. Nothing ever had. The moment the dogs pick up the girl's scent near the cypress swamp is where the hunt quietly transforms into something else, something no longer fully under human control. At first, everything appears familiar and predictable, trained animals responding to blood, sweat, and fear, their bodies angled forward with instinctual certainty. For the men, this moment reinforces their belief in order and dominance, the idea that escape is temporary and that the natural world itself can be weaponized to return what has fled. The swamp, however, is not just terrain. It is a living presence, dense with rot, shadow, and memory. And as soon as the dogs cross into it, the rules begin to shift. The change in the dogs' howls is subtle but deeply unsettling. Instead of sharp, aggressive barks meant to signal pursuit, the sounds stretch and warp into something strained, almost pleading. This auditory shift signals that the dogs are no longer simply tracking prey, they are reacting to something they do not understand. Animals, often portrayed as pure instinct, become the first witnesses to the unnatural, sensing a disturbance before the humans can. Their fear suggests that the girl's flight has led her into a space that resists intrusion, a place where violence has soaked so deeply into the land that it has developed its own will. This moment also reframes the girl's role in the story. She is no longer just a fleeing figure defined by pursuit, but becomes a catalyst for the environment's response. Whether through desperation, instinct, or something more mysterious, her presence disrupts the expected balance. The dog's fear implies that the hunt has crossed an invisible boundary, one not marked by fences or roads, but by history and suffering embedded in the swamp itself. The land remembers, even if the men refuse to. Psychologically, this turning point plants unease in both the characters and the audience. The men may not immediately acknowledge it, but confidence begins to erode. If the dogs, bred and trained for this exact purpose, hesitate and howl in distress, then the certainty of capture is no longer guaranteed. The familiar hierarchy of hunter and hunted destabilizes, opening the door for dread to seep in slowly rather than arrive all at once. Symbolically, the altered howls represent a warning. They are the last clear signal that turning back is still possible, that continuing forward means confronting something beyond cruelty or law. The dogs sense that the trail does not lead merely to a person, but toward a reckoning waiting in the depths of the swamp, where fear does not belong solely to the hunted, but spreads outward, claiming those who believed themselves untouchable. The discovery of the barefoot tracks that abruptly end in the mud marks a crucial fracture in the logic of the pursuit, transforming the hunt from a physical chase into an existential disturbance. Up to this point, the men rely on visible signs: broken branches, smeared blood, crushed reeds, to reassure themselves that the girl remains tangible and bound by the same physical limits as everyone else. Footprints are proof of exhaustion, pain, and inevitability. When those tracks suddenly stop, the certainty they have clung to collapses into confusion, and confusion quickly gives way to unease. The mud itself becomes an unsettling detail. It is deep, wet, and heavy enough to swallow a foot, making it impossible for the girl to have leapt away without leaving some mark. The absence of drag lines, altered prints, or disturbed water denies any rational explanation. This forces the men to confront a possibility they refuse to name, that the world they assume they control is capable of withholding answers. The stop tracks do not suggest clever escape or hidden paths. They suggest erasure, as if the land itself decided where the girl would no longer be seen. For the girl, this moment elevates her from a figure of flight to a symbol of resistance that transcends physical struggle. Whether she was taken, hidden, or absorbed is deliberately unclear, but the effect is the same. The pursuit no longer defines her. The men can no longer measure distance, speed, or direction. The hunt becomes circular, draining energy and confidence without offering progress. This uncertainty is more punishing than distance, as it strips them of the belief that persistence will be rewarded. Emotionally, this discovery exposes cracks in the men's collective resolve. Some react with anger, prodding the mud as if the ground itself is lying to them. Others fall silent, aware on some instinctive level that they have stepped into something older and more powerful than their authority. The track's sudden end functions like a with no answer, forcing each man to fill the silence with his own fear. The longer they stare, the more the absence becomes oppressive, louder than any sound the swamp has made so far. Symbolically, the vanished footprints represent the failure of ownership. For generations, bodies were counted, marked, tracked, and claimed, but here the system breaks down. The land refuses to cooperate, refusing to confirm possession or return what was taken. This moment shifts the balance of power away from those who believe control is permanent, revealing how fragile that belief truly is. From this point forward, the hunt is no longer about recapture, but about confronting the unsettling realization that something once considered property has slipped beyond reach, leaving behind only silence and doubt that cannot be filled. The moment the Rottweilers are heard again deep in the woods, circling the same place and refusing to advance or retreat, signals the complete collapse of forward motion and the birth of a different kind of terror. Sound becomes the only guide, echoing through trees, so thick they seem to bend the noise back toward the listeners. The men strain to locate the dogs, expecting movement, progress, or at least a change in direction. But the barking remains fixed, trapped in a single pocket of darkness. This stagnation unnerves them more than silence would, because it implies intention without explanation. Animals are driven by instinct to pursue or flee, and their refusal to do either violates the natural order the men rely on. The dog's circling behavior suggests that whatever lies at the center is neither prey nor predator in any recognizable sense. It is something that commands attention without allowing approach. The dogs are caught between fear and duty, their bodies pulled forward by training while their senses recoil from what they perceive. This internal conflict manifests as endless motion that leads nowhere, turning the clearing into a psychological snare. As hours pass, the men begin to understand that distance no longer matters. No matter how long they walk, the sound remains just beyond reach, as though the forest itself is shifting to keep them away. This erodes their sense of orientation and time, blurring the line between pursuit and entrapment. Night deepens, and with it grows the feeling that they are not closing in on the dogs, but being held in place, permitted to circle the same fear just as the animals do. The girl's presence, or absence, becomes increasingly abstract at this stage. She is no longer a body to be found, but a question that hangs over the clearing. The dog's fixation implies that the trail has ended not in escape, but in confrontation with something final. Whether the girl reached this place willingly or was drawn to it in desperation remains unclear, but her journey has led to a boundary that resists violation. The men sense that crossing it would require a cost they are unwilling to name. Psychologically, this turning point fractures group cohesion. Whispers replace commands, and authority dissolves into nervous speculation. The dogs, endless, circling mirrors the men's thoughts, looping without resolution, feeding on themselves. Each bark reinforces the idea that the hunt has become a vigil, and that whatever waits at the center of that unseen circle is patient. The longer the dogs refuse to move, the clearer it becomes that the danger is no longer about losing the girl, but about remaining too long in a place that does not want them there. A place where motion exists only to delay what comes next, the scream that echoes just before dawn marks the moment when uncertainty solidifies into raw terror, because it shatters the last illusion of distance and safety the men cling to. Until then, fear has been diffuse, spread across shadows, sounds, and unanswered questions, but a scream is unmistakably human. It carries shape, breath, and pain. When it erupts from the darkness, it collapses the space between hunter and hunted, between observer and participant. The sound does not come from deep within the woods where the girl should be, but closer, uncomfortably near, as if the forest has folded inward. What makes the scream unbearable is not only its proximity but its wrongness. It does not rise and fall the way a cry for help should. It cuts off too sharply, as if something has closed around it mid-breath. In that instant, the men are forced to confront a truth they have been avoiding. Whatever controls this place is no longer merely watching. It is acting. The scream removes ambiguity, replacing speculation with visceral certainty that something irreversible has occurred. The realization that the scream is not the girl's destabilizes them further. It strips away the narrative they have relied on, the idea that suffering belongs solely to the pursued. If the sound belongs to one of their own, or to someone who should not be there at all, then the roles have begun to reverse. The forest is no longer a backdrop for violence, but an active force capable of redistributing it. This inversion of power seeps into their bodies, tightening chests and weakening legs, making weapons feel suddenly inadequate. Emotionally, the scream functions as a fracture point. Some of the men instinctively move toward the sound, driven by fear disguised as duty, while others freeze, overwhelmed by the instinct to survive. This division exposes how thin their unity truly is. Authority dissolves in the face of a threat that cannot be confronted directly. Orders lose meaning when no one can agree on what, exactly, they are facing. The timing of the scream, just before dawn, is significant. Dawn is supposed to bring clarity, relief, and control, yet here it delivers a final reminder that light does not guarantee safety. Instead of marking an end, it heralds the approach of revelation. The scream feels like a warning issued at the last possible moment, a signal that whatever waits in the clearing will soon be visible, whether they are prepared to see it or not. This turning point locks the men into the hunt, even as it strips them of confidence. Turning back now would mean carrying the sound with them forever, allowing it to echo in memory without explanation. Moving forward means confronting the source and risking becoming the next voice swallowed by the woods. The scream ensures that there is no neutral choice left, only fear in motion or fear standing still when the search party finally reaches the clearing after 8 hours and finds the dogs alive but broken. The story arrives at its most unsettling revelation, one that offers no clear answers and refuses the comfort of resolution. The dogs, once symbols of certainty and control, now embody the cost of crossing into a place that does not obey human rules. Their bodies remain intact, yet something essential has been stripped away, leaving them trembling and hollow-eyed, fixed on a single empty point, as if their minds are trapped elsewhere. This physical survival paired with psychological ruin suggests that what occurred in the clearing was not an act of violence in the traditional sense, but an encounter with something that dismantles rather than destroys. The dogs' unbroken bodies challenge the men's expectations. There are no wounds to examine, no blood to explain the fear, no tracks to follow beyond the clearing's edge. This absence of visible harm makes the outcome more disturbing, because it implies a force that does not need to tear flesh to assert dominance. The animal's refusal to respond to commands reinforces this idea. Training, loyalty, and instinct have all failed, leaving the men confronted with the terrifying possibility that obedience itself has been rendered meaningless. The empty space the dogs stare into becomes the clearing's most powerful feature. It draws attention not through presence but through suggestion, functioning like a wound in the world that refuses to close. The men sense that whatever occupied that space has either moved on or was never meant to be seen directly. This ambiguity denies them closure, forcing them to confront fear without the relief of explanation. The girl's absence is now absolute, not because she has been reclaimed or recovered, but because the rules of the hunt no longer apply to her fate. Psychologically, this moment shatters the men's sense of superiority. They arrived believing themselves to be agents of order, wielding tools designed to ensure dominance. The dog's condition reflects what awaits anyone who attempts to impose control here. Survival is possible, but it comes at the cost of certainty, identity, and command. The men realize that they are not victors standing over a defeated enemy, but intruders allowed to leave only because something else chose restraint. Symbolically, the dog's broken state mirrors the breaking of a system that relies on pursuit and possession. The hunt has ended not with capture but with exposure, revealing the fragility of the power structure the men assumed was unshakable. The clearing offers no triumph, only a silent warning etched into the animal's empty stares. What happened there cannot be carried away as proof or story without losing its meaning, because the true horror lies not in what was seen, but in what was encountered and left behind, watching, patient, unchanged.